Good evening. Last daf of Maseches Pesachim, Baruch Hashem. Really has been a pleasure to learn with all of you. We only have another 6 years to go, so just hang on tight. And we'll be beginning tonight on Kuf Chaf Amud Beis, 1/3 of the way down at the two dots. And then Hirsch will be making the Siyum at the end, and then we will rest and celebrate with the Sudas Mitzvah. Do you have a Gemara, Hirsch? Yeah, okay. Just making sure. After you made fun of me for asking me if you're here without a Gemara. There's a Gemara. If you look at the Mishnah at the very top of Kuf Chaf Amud Beis on line 2, it quotes a din that says, "HaPesach achar chatzos mitame es hayadayim," that after midnight, halachic midnight, that if a person were to touch the Korban Pesach after that time, their hands would become tamei. So it says the Gemara, Alma, 1/3 of the way down, Kuf Chaf Amud Beis, Alma, it seems from there, mechatzos havale nosar. For the halachic limit, at which point we assume that there is nosar. Nosar, of course, as the isser of eating food that has passed its halachic expiration date. It seems to be that according to the Tana of our Mishnah, that time when something becomes nosar is chatzos halayla, the middle of the night. But earlier in the Maseches, we were speaking about this as it relates to you have the whole night to eat, and then only by Amar Shachar would you then have a problem of nosar. So says the Gemara, Man Tana. Who is the Tana of our Mishnah who holds of such a shita? Amar Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is the one who's of the opinion that the Isser of Nosar begins at halachic midnight. The Tanya, the Brisa writes, and here we'll see a machlokas, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva. The Brisa writes as follows: V'achlu es habatzar b'layla hazeh, and they should eat the basar of the Korban Pesach b'layla hazeh on this night. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah omer, ne'emar kan b'layla hazeh, v'ne'emar lehola, ve'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh. So we have a Gzeira Shava. How does he learn the Gzeira Shava? Just like in the other context, it was until Chatzos Halayla. Afkan here too by the Korban Pesach says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that it's only until Chatzos Halayla. Omar lo Rabbi Akiva, wait a minute, that's not right. We don't assume that the Isra of Nosar begins at Chatzos Halayla. Rabbi Akiva says halfway down Kuf Chaf Amud Beis, Halo Nemar Chipazon, Ad Shas Chipazon. If you look at the Rashbam here, he explains how the word Chipazon means different things to Rabbi Akiva as it does to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And Rabbi Akiva assumes that Ad Shas Chipazon means until the morning. So in Kain Matalmud Lomar Balayla, what then does Rabbi Akiva do with the words of Laila? Maybe we should assume, like regular kachim, that you're allowed to eat the meat of the korban even after the night is over, even during the next day. Oh, very good. So that's the end of the brisa. Machlukas Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva as to whether or not the Isra of Nosar begins at Chatzos Halayla or whether or not the Isra of Nosar begins in the morning. Asks the Gemara halfway down, Rabbi Akiva, hi, what do you do with the word hazeh? My avidle. We know that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah used it for Gzeira Shava. What do you do with the word hazeh? You're not using it for the Gzeira Shava, so what's the point of the word? What is the Torah coming to teach us? Says the Gemara, Laila achar acher hu da'asa. We're coming to make sure that you know that by a Korban Pesach, that you don't have 2 nights to eat this food. Sal kadai tachamina, I might have thought, Poel Pesach, Kachim Kalim, Ushlamim, Kachim Kalim. Just like the Korban Pesach is in the camp of Kachim Kalim, and the Korban Shlamim is also in the camp of Kachim Kalim. So what might I have thought? Ma Shlamim ne'echalim l'shnei yamim v'layla echad. Maybe I would have thought that just like by Shlamim is 2 days and 1 night. Pesach, I would have thought so too by Pesach. Okim leilos b'makom yamim. It would have been 2 nights and 1 day. We invert instead of 2 days and 1 night by Shlamim. But maybe it was 2 nights and 1 day by the Korban Pesach. Therefore, says Rabbi Akiva, for that purpose, Kasav Rachmana Hazeh. That's why we had the word Hazeh, to make sure that we knew that one is not allowed to eat the Korban Pesach the night that follows. It ends in the morning. Good. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, where do you learn this from about the next night? So he says very simply, Amar lach, miloso siru ad boker nafkaha. I learned that din from a different pasuk. I don't need the drush of Hazeh. I have Rabbi Akiva. If Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is right that you can learn that out from Loso Siru ad Boker, then what do you do with that? Amar lach, you're right that it says Loso Siru ad Boker, but ilo kasav Rachmana Hazeh, without the extra word of Hazeh, Havamina my Boker Sheni. I might have thought that it included yet another day, yet another Boker, the following Boker. So therefore, my Havamina, my Boker Sheni, I might have thought it would have included another day, and that's why we had the word Hazeh and the pasuk of Loso Siru ad Boker. Rabbi Eliezer Eliezer, Omar, what would he say? Kol hecha dekasa boker rishon. He says the word hazeh, I don't need to limit my understanding of lo sosira boker. That's pashut because every time it says boker in the Torah, it's referring to the following morning, not any other time. End of sugya machlokas Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva in regards to when the Isra of Nosar kicks in. So now that's all Tanaim. We're about 6-7 lines from the bottom of Kuftaf Beis. Rava is going to try and extend the din of the Brisa of this Mishnah. What does it say? Amar Rava. Rava says, "Ochal matzah bizman hazeh achar chatzos Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah lo yatei deichel basa." So he extrapolates. Hamedim davar l'toch davar. He looks at our Mishnah and he says, if Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah holds that Nosar begins at midnight, we should apply the same rules to matzah, that you're not yotzei the mitzvah of matzah after midnight. That's why you'll find in many homes that people are makbid to finish eating their afikomen before chatzos halayla. Others don't, because we paskin like Rabbi Akiva, but that's where all of this comes from. So says the Gemara, if that's what Rava thinks that he can learn from Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, says the Gemara, Pshita, that's obvious. To keep the iskash lepesach, kepesach dami. Matzah was equated to the korban pesach, and if matzah is equated to the korban pesach, then just like the korban pesach, its clock runs out at midnight, halachic midnight, according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, then Rava's right. Then of course it's going to be asur to eat the matzah. Not asur, I should say, but you can't fulfill the mitzvah deraisa v'achilas matzah after chatzos halayla. Says the Gemara, it's not so pashut. It's not so true because mahu detema. What might I have thought? Ha'apke kra mi hekesha. There's a pasuk that is outside of the hekesh. We saw this pasuk yesterday that one is obligated to eat the matzah on its own, even bisman hazeh, which was Rava as well. So we would have thought kamash malan ahadre kol kra lemilsa kamaisa ahadre. That in this case we look at it as part of the hekesh. We don't separate it from the hekesh, and therefore Rava had to specify his understanding. To specify his understanding of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that not only would it be true that the korban pesach would expire at midnight, but the same would be true by the mitzvah achilas matzah. Namely, if you want to talk about the most rigid form of a time-bound mitzvah, here's how it works. According to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the only time to fulfill the mitzvah deraisa v'achilas matzah is between seisa kochavim and chatzos halayla. It's the prototype of a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. Nevertheless, as we saw, because often women are obligated in this mitzvah, that it's a mitzvah saseh grama, and that brings us to the 2 dots, 3 lines from the bottom of Kuchaf and Beis. Let's continue. Our Mishnah at the very top of the page, 3 lines down, also added that hapigul v'hanosar metamin hayadayim, that when it comes to pigul, which is a korban that is brought with incorrect machshavos, and when it comes to nosar, food that has reached its halachic expiration time, the halacha is metamin hayadayim. 2 lines from the bottom. Rafuna v'Rav Chizda, there were 2 statements we don't exactly know yet who said what. One says that we're concerned about the Kohanim. We'll have to see what that means in the moment. We have lazy Kohanim. It's actually the second time we're seeing this brisa. We saw it earlier in the Maseches as well. One says that it is the shiur that it will be metame the hands, because remember they said that pigul and nosar cost 2 mabiyatayim. According to some, it's only true if the shiur is a kezayis. And according to others, that it is true only with a double shiur of a kezayis, which is a kibetza. Turning to the top of Kufchaf Aleph, beginning the final blot of Maseches Pesachim Baruch Hashem, 120 days. We only have 1 page left to turn. We're almost there. Short Gemara.
Should we pause for a minute and take it all in?
No, I don't think so. No, I'd rather pause once the food's on the table. Yeah. Tani apigul. Some said that the lines that we just learned have to do with pigul. Tani anosar. Some say that the lines that we just saw have to do with nosar. So we'll have to see where each sheet applies. The chashade kahuna, the atale kahuna, where do all those things apply? Let's see. So mandatani apigul. According to the one who is referencing pigul, so there the Gemara says mishum chashade kahuna. What's the concern about a kohen? He's bringing the korban pesach for you, but he's angry at you for something. So if he has a machsheves pigul, he ruins your korban. So because of chashade kahuna, that's what this means. Mandatani apigul mishum chashade kahuna. Mandatani anosar mishum asleguna. What's the concern about nosar? The food will reach its expiration time. There, the concern is mishum asleguna. The kohanim will not be on their game, and they'll inadvertently make the korban past its time. The person who's talking about, who says that the shiur where tuma can transfer is with a kazayis, he's thinking from the lens of isser. According to the one who says that the shiur is a kibetza, he's referring to a food that has as its minimum shiur kibetza, without which you cannot transfer tuma. So that's a machlokas, and the lines in the Gemara are clear that the pigul When we talk about pigul, our concern is chashade kahuna, that if they're mad at you, then the kohen can have a machshavas pigul and ruin your korban pesach. And the concern about nosar is with a more lazy kohen, if there was such a thing. We've said 15 times in this Masechta, kohanim is reading him. This must be an anomaly, but that is what's going on here in the Gemara. Let's begin our last and final Mishnah of the Masechta. Birech Birkas HaPesach Patar Es Shel Zevach. We know on Erev Pesach a lot of korbanos were brought, 3 in particular, the korban tamid, not what we're talking about, korban Pesach, that is what we're talking about, and a korban chagiga, a special korban chagiga that was brought on the 14th. Why was it brought? Because we had to make sure that the korban Pesach was nechal al hasova. So first the korban chagiga was brought, and then we would eat the korban Pesach once we ate from that food. But you had to make a bracha on both of them because there was a mitzvah to bring them. So if you made a bracha on Birchas HaPesach, and then you did not make a bracha on the chagiga, potar es shel zevach. You don't have to make a second bracha. This is a hilchos brachos mishnah. Birech es shel zevach, but if you made a bracha on the korban chagiga, lo potar es shel pesach. There, however, you did not yet make a bracha on the korban pesach. Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva argues. Rabbi Kiva omer lo ze poteres v'lo lo ze poteres zo v'lo zo poteres zo. That no, each of them require their own brachos. You cannot have a bracha on the korban pesach that applies to the chagiga or vice versa. It always has to be separate brachos. Opens the Gemara. Shetim Salomar. When you take this sugya to the nth degree, when you really learn this properly, we're only going to be focusing on the deepest part of the sugya, which is the zrikas hadam of each of the korbanos. Lomar ledivrei Rabbi Shmuel, according to Shita number 1, zrika bichlal shvicha. The zrika, which is part of the korban chagiga, is obviously included in the shvicha of the korban pesach. That's why Rabbi Shmuel says that the bracha on the korban pesach works for the chagiga, because the zrika of the chagiga was included. It's bichlal the shvicha of the korban pesach, but not the reverse. The low Rabbi Shmuel, the low shvicha bichlal zrika, but the opposite is not true. And the dibur Rabbi Akiva, low shvicha bichlal zrika, the low zrika bichlal shvicha. You cannot say that there's any link between shvicha and zrika, and that's why the brachos according to Rabbi Akiva don't work for either of them. Final turn of the page. Kuf Kaf Alpha Mebez Rav Simlai. Ikla, the pidyon haben. Rav Simlai went to a pidyon haben. We know, of course, the mitzvah saseh shel Torah, that for a child who's born to a couple, both of whom are not bnei Kohen and bnei Levi, the halacha is that there's a mitzvah that rises to a pidyon haben. So bo mine, the question was raised at this pidyon haben. Pshita, I know, says the Gemara, al pidyon haben, that when it comes to the mitzvah of pidyon haben, what's the bracha? Asher kiddushan b'mitzvah savet sivanu, al pidyon haben, and who makes that bracha? Avi haben mevarech. Everyone agrees to that. Everyone knows who makes that bracha. However, there was a katya on whether or not the shechiyanu was said by the father of the baby or by the kohen. Baruch shechiyanu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh, kohen mevarech? Oh, Avi haben mevarech. Who makes that bracha? And the Gemara gives a svar lakan u'lakan. Do we say kohen mevarech because the kamati hana aliyadeh? Because the kohen, he made money on the deal. The kohen got 5 coins. He got 5 slain. So maybe he should make the shechiyanu because it was a chap. It was a chiddush for him. Strange havamina. Why do we make shechiyanu? Because we make them on new mitzvahs. We make them on mitzvahs that you do once in a blue moon, once in a year. So why? It's a strange havamina. But that's what the Gemara says. It's connected, I guess, to the shechiyanu that we would make on new clothing that we get a gishmak out of. He got a hana. He got something wonderful out of the deal. Oh, do we say, second to last line of the Gemara, Avi haben mevarech dika avid mitzvah? Or do we say that the father of the baby is the one who makes the shechiyanu because he is performing a once in a lifetime, not once in a lifetime, but a first time mitzvah in this particular case? That's the chakir of the Gemara. Answers the Gemara, lo hava biyadeh, he did not know the answer. Why are we talking about this Gemara? So obviously the comparison to our Mishnah is, what do you do when you have 2 brachos? How do they interplay? So the Gemara is saying, okay, we have 2 brachos here. So one is for sure on the father, is a shechiyanu for the father or for the kohen. Then the Gemara says, asa sha'il bei medrasha. They brought the shaila to the beis medrash, and the talmidim and the rabbanim, they were all talking. And amrulei, here's the conclusion of the Gemara. Avi haben mevarech shtayim. It is the responsibility of the father to make both brachos. The first bracha, asher kiddushan b'mitzvah savet tzivanu al pidyon haben, and shechiyanu b'kimanu b'ganu lazman hazeh. And that is the din behilchasa avi haben mevarech shtayim hadron lach arbe psachim zlich Allah Maseches Pesachim hadron lach arbe psachim zlich Allah Maseches Pesachim hadron lach arbe psachim zlich Allah Maseches Pesachim. Before Hirsch gives the Siyum, I just want to openly thank my wife, who has been a remarkable support here. Really, thank you very much. Thank her very much. I don't even think she's watching this, but hopefully she's recording. And to all of our spouses and families that have been supporting us throughout this, special mazel tov to everyone here. Thank you for being the comedic wind in my sails, as it were. Great learning with each of you and all of you, both on Zoom and here in the room. Hirsch, if you do the honors.
What was the highlight of this?
We're recording now, so we'll have to discuss that.
I'd like to hear that Lincoln coming to the daf.
Yeah, we'll sign it. There's people who are.
You want your?
Look at that.
Before we begin,
A few words.
a few words. I just wanted to say thank you to Phil for leading us. 21 days of Pesachim and for almost over a year so far. So it's been everyone who's here. Let's keep going for 6 years. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. All right, Hadron Lach Maseches Pesachim, Hadron Chalon, Hadron Lach Maseches Pesachim, Hadron Chalon, Nissan Shem Maseches Pesachim, Nissan Shem Nam, Levam Adem, Levam Adasi, Hadron Lach Maseches Pesachim, Hadron Chalon, Hadron Lach Maseches Pesachim, Hadron Chalon, Nissan Shem Maseches Pesachim, Nissan Shem Nam, Levam Adem, Levam Adasi, Hadron Lach Maseches Pesachim, Hadron Chalon, Hadron Lach Maseches Pesachim, Hadron Chalon, Nissan Shem Nam. Maseches Pesachim, Nissan Shem Nam, Levam Adem, Levam Adasi. Yuratam Panaf Adonai Leheinu V'Lehav V'Seinu Shtei Teraska, and when the Seinu V'Am Mazeh, Seiman V'Am Lava, Fanina Bar-Papa, Ramir Bar-Papa, Nachman Bar-Papa, Afali Bar-Papa, Avamari Bar-Papa, Rafam Bar-Papa, Rafish Bar-Papa, Surfa Bar-Papa, Ada Bar-Papa, Dora Bar-Papa, Arav Adonai Nisur Sos Pino Pia Sam Chabez Yisrael. V'Nia Kolan Rafam Tzatzeim Tzatzeinu Tzatzeim Chabez Yisrael Kolan Rei Shnecha Kolan Nisur Sachal Shema Never Tachmini Tzatzeim Kila Hibi. Hibi Samu Fujaka on the Bush. Elam was Eshkach Pidacha Kidam Kisani Rohat Adonai Lam Digi Fukecha. Amen, 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 Celebrate, Wadi Mafno Punafa, Adonai Elohim Elohim Saying, Shatan Bechukim, Shivis, and Edrish, Shalisan, Fukim, Shikranus, Shanamashkim, the Hamashkim, and Manamashkim, the Return, the Hamashkim, and Burmatilim, and I'm Milim, and I'm Milim, Kabin Safar, the Hamamilim, Kabin Safar, Honor Ratson, the Ratson, Honor Ratson, the Fire Love, the Ratson, the Shachas, Shnamar, Ratal, him to redeem the Shachas, Antri Dabin, and Mirma, the F to them, and Imea, Fachbach. Yotam Benafa, Adonai Lahak, Shem, Shazatan, Simon, Sefis, Pesachim. Cain has written a hospital and stuff. This is for my Simon Moonlight Lambi Lishma Laskus of Gans for the Simon Pesach Abba. Spills call Tanan, but Maran, some if a family Armadilly, Lazarli, Shlay Thomas, Return P, Pizari, Zari, Adela, Sky and B, is Alaha, time for itself. Shafal Tishmar Alaha, like it says, he sees Hefa. TV, your boy, I'm not the receiver of my Sky and America, Mino, the small Russian public. Other as I would gather, Israel Dash Merabah, Masilis, Fadas, Lafayette, Vesana, Sokolia, Sodafayama, Livnay Car, Tadu, Shil, Shafla, Life of Gabe, Makar, Fanala, and Mara, Saba, Botanish, my last ray, Yamis, Bishop, Rufus, City Carre. I think the final of Israel, I was like, Rum. Yes, hello, we shall have a solution. We shall be cool. Come cover us over to ourselves. We'll have enough months. I shall our Abana Tomilian, what Tomilay, whom some day, and I found us Mandias Maressa. He last round and we do for us. I was here from the Hano from Chicago. He never kissed the Rathman of Harry, Kingdom, then we say, for family color of when we smile, the room, and family of our certain room, and